Hello and welcome back to another tutorial on using Adobe Photoshop. Today we're going to be talking about using the Preferences panel, using grids, and using guides in order to make you a more effective Photoshop user. I've given you kind of a basic activity today that's going to help us go through various different things in using all of our options and to make you a better and more efficient user of Photoshop. I've given you some directions here. One of the things I do want to stress, I went a little too fast. One of the things I do want to stress is a lot of what you're going to see up here, you will see on a certification exam. So this is why we are practicing some of this. Do I overly change how often my automatic save recovery is done? No. But do I want you to know where it is? Absolutely. Because sometimes the default may be a little longer than you would like. So let's go ahead and get into it. For our purposes, we are going to be into the preferences panel, which is right here. You can choose which section of the preference panel you want to get into, but I am going to go through the majority of it just to kind of show you where things are located. If you have a Windows machine, it should be located under the Edit menu. We're going to start with the general. These are some basic ones that may not always fit in a specific category like skip transform when placing, things like that. This is also where you can reset everything as well. Interface is where you can change if you like the darker versus the lighter. Some people like that lighter or even white. That's a little much for me. I'm going to go back to this kind of medium colored one. You also can change whether you have different types of screen modes, whether the artboards are different colors that default. Maybe you always have a specific thing that you prefer. The workspace as well, you can kind of set up different things where maybe you want to auto turn on and off, auto show hidden panels, things like that. The tools as well, where you can choose whether you want the arrow keys to rotate brushes, whether you want to zoom with the scroll wheel or not. I have that turned off, for example, things like that. History log, this whether you do or do not use it, it's pretty basic. And then whether it's concise, session only, or detailed. For the first one, this is where you're going to find number one, which is underneath file handling. If you look, it's asking you to change the save recovery. So we're going to check here, automatically save recovery and you have some choices here. Not a lot, but you do have some choices. Export is going to allow you to decide whether you want your quick export. Maybe you want it to automatically default to a JPEG. I leave mine on a PNG. You can change some of these settings. I don't mess too much with some of this, like performance. I really don't mess with my scratch discs. I don't really mess too much. You can change your cursors, however, which some people really like a precise where it shows you, or the standard where it shows the tool. I prefer a normal. The precise is going to give you that cross mark, which you can turn on with the caps lock, so you don't have to. I like my normal brush. You can choose a full size brush, but I like just the normal. Same with your other cursors. It just kind of depends on what you prefer. You have some transparency settings if you wanted to change what the back and the see-through background color, you can change that to a color if maybe the gray just doesn't work for you. I'll go in and change this, for example, if I'm working on an image that has a maybe gray white tone that I'm trying to go. So I may change it to the red or the purple or the green so that I can see more easily. This is also units. You can default that your ruler's already automatically set to inches if you prefer that. I like mine on pixels personally, and the type automatically defaults to points versus millimeters versus pixels, things like that. The other question that I'm asking you to change is to go to your grids, guides, and slices section. And we're going to work on setting our grid settings, and you're going to be changing the type of line. So you can set the color of your grid. You can also set whether it's solid lines or dashed lines or even dotted lines. So you're going to come in here and mess with some of this. And then you can decide how often you see a grid line. So maybe you want it to be every 100 with a subdivision of every 10. You can set that how you want it. And when you say okay, and you go to the view menu, okay, this is where you're going to go in and actually show that grid. And then you can see I've got a thick line and then these kind of thin lines. So I personally cannot work with the grid on. That's a me thing. So I usually leave that toggled off, but I do want you to know where that is and how to get it. The other thing I want you to be able to pull are pull guides. Now, my rulers are turned on because I always have mine turned on. I just turn them off, which is Command R, and that turns them on or off. When you turn those on, you have the ability to just drag a grid line down, and you can drag that back up to get rid of it. You can drag from either direction. Okay. Underneath my view menu, I can go and clear my guides, which is nice. I can also lock guides, but here's the other thing, I can do a new guide. Maybe I want it set exactly at 800 vertical. It's going to post it right there. So if I have very specific needs, I can do very specific locked in, maybe I'll do a horizontal this time at 400. So it's going to lay it right down on that measurement using those rulers. I can also lock my guides so that I cannot move them, but I can move my image. So you just want to make sure that you are familiar with these options. I'm going to unlock them and then I'm going to clear my guides again, because you want to ensure that you know how for the certification. You also can do canvas guides, things like that. So depending on what it is you want to use. So if you notice, I lined it up with my canvas or my artboard, and you should notice that it's blue versus that kind of cyan color now, because of the way I pulled one down. Look forward to seeing how this helps you grow and move forward using Adobe Photoshop. If you like this, make sure you like and subscribe for more. Thanks, friends.